Salvete discipuli. Kuidagis. Here I am. Kuidagis, how are you? I hope you're doing very well. And I thought I would come to you today with a little review and just to keep our minds fresh and sharp with our Latin lessons. Do you know that learning Latin is very valuable to you, and I don't want to let it just fall off and die like we do in the summertime and we forget all about Latin. So, Kuidagis, Aiden. Kuidagis, I haven't seen you in a long time. Optime, I hope. Kuidagis, Audrey. Laita, yes. Are you happy? Are you doing well? Quid facis, JP. JP sits right back there, usually. JP, are you busy? Let's see. What does quid facis mean? We all remember, right? What are you doing? Diligento laboro, I hope. I am working diligently. Quid facis, Haley, Adriana. They were all excited and just getting into our Rosetta Stone, and now we've been at home. And you know what? It takes a lot of maturity to work at home and to work on your own. Goodness, this is quite a learning experience for all of us, and I hope you all are doing well. And you've got to just learn to apply yourself and make your mind work and get into your studies and work hard. Get your schoolwork done in the morning and in the early afternoon, and then use the rest of the day to play and help around the house. All right, so today we are going to review Chapter 9. First of all, I'd like to remind you to review your 200 word list. Like I said, learning the Latin language is very valuable to you, and if you would read through your 200 words every once in a while, just a couple times a week maybe, and keep those fresh in your mind. Having those 200 words is kind of like having a foundation on a house. It gives you quite a little store box of treasure, and knowing some Latin root words can really help you along the way. All right, let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Why don't we? I hope we're spending a lot of extra time reading our Bibles and praying and talking to the Lord, and we certainly need Him all the time, and even now, and especially in this crisis that we're all experiencing around the world, in fact. So let's say the Lord's Prayer. Ready? Pater noster, qui es in caelis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in caelo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed liber nos a malo. Amen. All right, hopefully you have your binder at home and you've been looking through those things and reviewing them. If so, get out your Chapter 9 notes and let's review. Chapter 10 in our book introduces a brand new subject that we've never talked about before. And so I thought I'd start this lesson and give you this lesson for this week, just to get our minds back in gear with the things that we've learned so far. So Chapter 9. In Chapter 9, of course, we've learned about a lot of things in Latin. Remember, nouns, what's a noun? Right, a person, place, thing, or idea. And an adjective. What do adjectives do? You know this, right? Fifth graders ought to know this, yes. Adjectives describe nouns. All right, so, and in Latin we learned that nouns and adjectives must what? Right, they must agree in two ways. What are they? Number and gender. So, these picture cards help us remember that. The balaena maxima est, the whale is very big. Balaena is a feminine noun, and so therefore you have to use the feminine ending on its adjective. The whale is very big. And this one, ecus magnus est, the horse is big. This word horse is masculine, and so you have to use a masculine ending on the adjective to describe it. All right. Then we talked about verbs. We've learned a lot about verbs since third grade. Verbs we know what's the definition of a verb? A word that shows action, state of being, or linking. And in Latin, we have to remember something very special and unique about a verb, and that is what? Yes, the ending on a Latin verb tells us who is doing the action. So then you have to memorize the ending so you know who's doing the action, right? All right, so the present tense endings, we've been learning those since third grade. Say them with me. O, S, T, M-U-S, T-I-S, and N-T. So the singular and the plural. If it ends with an O, who's doing the action? That's right, I am doing the action. Dico, I am talking or I am saying, yes. All right, so that's present tense. And then in chapter 8, brand new introduction of another tense, and that was called the imperfect tense. The imperfect tense. So present tense, the word tense means what? Right? Means time. So the present tense is action happening right now. I am talking. You are listening, hopefully. And then the imperfect tense. The imperfect tense is a Latin tense that represents what kind of an action? Imperfect tense. Imperfect. Not complete. Correct. So it's a past action, and it's a incomplete or repetitive action in the past. So that was the imperfect tense, and we have some of those in our notes. Let's look at those. Disceit, he learns. So if you wanted to say I am learning, it would be disco. That's a funny coincidence, isn't it? Dolet, she is in pain. Fundit, he pours, and then profundit, he spills. Get it, she wears. Gustat, he tastes. Habitat, he lives. And habitas, obviously, you live. Ubi habitas? Remember what that means, right? Where do you live? We all live at home all the time now, right? Yes, indeed. All right, ponit, he puts. Tenet, she or he holds. And wokat, he calls. So those are some of the words that we should know, some of the verbs that are a little bit newer in this chapter and in the previous chapters. Impersonal verbs. Do you remember what an impersonal verb is? Right, it's a verb with the subject of it. And those are difficile est, facile est, necesse est, mihi placet, and tibi licet. We also know the verb ningit. It is snowing. All right, I wrote out a few words here on the board. Words that are above us and in front of us all the time. Heims, with, aistas, and autumnus. I put a little sign here. Is this true? I hope so. Oh goodness, I love Latin too. This is we love Latin. All right, so here are a few words. Nox, N-O-X, nox, is night. It's the Latin word for night, from which we get our word nocturnal. Nocturnal, you know what nocturnal is, right? Right, animals that are active at night and sleep most of the day. Potens is the Latin word for power. It's the root word here in omnipotent. So omnipotent, God is omnipotent, all powerful. Yes, he is, and we ought to believe that and remember it, that God is all powerful. He can do anything. And obviously he's allowed this virus to infect and disrupt our world, and he could certainly take it away, and we're certainly all praying to that end. But potens means power, omnipotent. We get from that. Where, V-E-R, where adest, yes, spring is here. Where is spring, from which we get the word vernal. Anything vernal has to do with spring. The vernal equinox just happened in March. March 19, I believe, was the vernal equinox for this year, which was the day. We have 2 days a year. If you remember, I've explained this before, but we have 2 days a year that are equinoxes. 2 days a year where we have basically the same amount of daytime and the same amount of nighttime. Those are the equinox. Equal night. Okay, is the description or the definition of those Latin root words. Equal night, and then vernal obviously is spring. Aistas, the Latin word for summer. Autumnus, the Latin word for fall. Heims, winter. And then here I gave us a little sentence for us to review our imperfect tense. Remember the imperfect tense. Let's go through those endings together. They are on the back side of your chapter 9 notes if you want to look at them. The present tense, O, S, and T, but the imperfect tense has those 2 extra letters in it, the B and the A. So they go as this: bam, bas, bat, bamus, batis, and bant. So B-A-M on the end of a Latin verb means I was whatever. I was talking, I was sitting, I was running. Look at the examples there in your notes. Imperfect tense. Korebant, they were running. Gerebant, they were wearing. Navigabam, I was sailing. Pluebat, it was raining. Portabam, I was carrying. Rewaniabant, they were returning. Tenebat, he was holding. Temebas, you were frightened. Weniabant, they were coming. Wolabam, I was wanting. All right, so let's translate this sentence on the board. Puella diu scribebamos. Do you feel like you're doing this a lot? Okay. Puella, obviously girl. Diu is an adverb that means for a long time. Scribebamos, you know that root word, right? That's writing. And then the imperfect tense, we were, which I did that incorrectly. Wow, look at that. Do you know what the ending should be here? If the subject is puella. Correct. It should be the T. Glad I caught that. Puella diu scribebat. Carmine, you reminded me of that, didn't you? Yep. He's sitting right over here. He whispered, "Hey, Mrs. Borsch, you got the wrong ending on the verb." All right. Puella diu scribebat. She was writing for, or the girl was writing for a long time. All right. Now, if, and hopefully you do, I sent home the Minimus book. Turn to page number 67. It's chapter 9, but it's the second story. I've gotten the CD here to the second part of the story, page number 67. I'm going to turn it on. We'll listen to this second part of the story, and then I'll translate it with you. So here we go.
Time to go home. After the naming ceremonies, Lepidina and the family returned to their home in Eboracum.
Introduction.
Maelius decided to follow on later, after a day's hunting with a friend. Candidus is describing the hunt to Pandora. Vale Flavia, geminos pulcros cura, tota familia, domo re veniebat.
Flavius et amicus, nomine Broccus, ad venatione discedeant, ego quoque aderam.
Can you translate as you're hearing it?
Ego venabila et retia portabam. Ad silvas equitabamus, multi canes nobiscum aderant. Segosi lepores olfaciebant, et ullulavant. Vetragi celervi currebant, hi canes mirabilis. Maximus aper in silvis erat. Flavius et Broccus aprumpetebant, sed frustra.
Box 9.
Tandem septem perdices, quinque lepores, et unus cervus mortui erant.
Dies optimus erat.
Et vero, Silvanus nobiscum aderat.
All right, now the best thing for you to do would be to pause the video, and you don't have to write it out, but or you could, whatever, but at least do it mentally or out loud, and go through each box and translate to yourself, and then I'm going to tell you what they mean, so then you can check yourself. But you know what? I've told you this before, and I'll remind you again, but Latin class and any kind of learning a foreign language is like calisthenics for your mind. It's like PE for your brain. If we sit around all day and sit on the couch and watch cartoons and then sit around, do our homework, do our schoolwork, and then sit around again and watch video game or watch cartoons, play video games, whatever. All right, if you never get any physical exercise, your muscles are going to turn to mush. And if you never work your brain and make it work in translating and learning like we're learning in Latin class, it's not going to have that physical, that mental exercise that you wouldn't get any other way. I know you're working hard on all of your other lessons, and that's good, and that does make your brain work, but translating and learning a foreign language makes your brain work like it doesn't have to work any other time. So pause the video, see if you can get these translated. We've done these before, so you should be pretty easy, and then I'm going to go through them with you. So here we go, box number 1. Wale Flavia, that's easy. Goodbye, Flavia. If you remember in the first part of the chapter, Lepidina is telling, relating to Pandora about the wonderful days when they went and visited her daughter, their oldest daughter, Flavia. She had twins, and a boy and a girl, and they went to celebrate with them on the days when they named the children. And so she is relating that story to Pandora. Then also while they were there, Flavius went out on a hunt, and that's what this story is about, this second half. And so she's saying goodbye to Flavia, and then she says, goodbye, Flavia, take care of your beautiful twins. And at the bottom, Tota Familia, the whole family was returning home. So it's was returning because it's reveniam bat. Number 2, Flavius and his friend named Brachus, were leaving. I forgot what that word means. Were leaving for a hunt, and I also was there. So here's Candidus. He's telling Pandora about getting to go on the hunt with them. Except I don't know that he got to do much hunting. Looks like he was doing all the carrying. So Flavius and his friend named Brachus were leaving to go on a hunt, and I also was there. Number 3, quid faciebas, she says to him. Pandora says, what were you doing? And he says, I was carrying the hunting spears and the nets. So I was running behind on the horse, and he was carrying all the supplies. The next box, number 4, we were riding into the forest. Many dogs were there with us. So they brought along their hunting dogs. These are 2 types of dogs that the Romans used for hunting. Segosi were sniffing out the hares. That's olfaciebant. Remember, I think you've learned about this. The olfactory nerve is in our nose. Okay, so that's the root word there. They were sniffing out the hares or the rabbits, and they were howling. Ulalabant, they were howling. Yes. And number 6, Vertragi, that's the other kind of dog that were with them, were running quickly. And these dogs were wonderful. I mean, they really knew how to do their job, to hunt. Number 7, next page. There was a very big boar in the forest. Number 8, Flavius and Brachus, Petebant, were searching for the boar. They were searching for him, but in vain. So they were searching for this boar. They wanted to get the boar. Obviously, any kind of a farmer would not want that kind of an animal around, kill their livestock. So they were hunting for this boar, but they couldn't find him. They came up vain. Number 9, at last, tandem means at last, 7 partridges, quinque. You remember that, right? Right, 5 rabbits or hares, and 1 deer were dead. So Candidus had to collect all of those hides and bring them back. And then box number 10, the day was the best, or was great. And his friend said, yes, the god of hunting was with us. And of course, we know that the Romans were quite mixed up on their belief in God. They did not believe in Jehovah God. They had quite a few other false gods, and so they thought that the god of hunting was with them. But actually, we know that God is in control of even the smallest of our days, and smallest, he wants to meet our needs no matter how big or how small. And I hope you are reading your Bible every day and praying and seeking the Lord to help you with your schoolwork and seeking the Lord's help and mercy for our country and our world with this virus. All right, looking at page 69, grasp the grammar. Do you remember what grammar is? Hopefully. What is grammar? Who remembers in this room? Who remembers? Let's see. Who am I going to call on? It's so hard to remember who sits where. Brady, do you remember what grammar is? I'm sure you do. Grammar is what? How a language works, correct. All right, so looking at this, they're wanting us to review the imperfect tense. The picture story is in the imperfect tense. They want you to look back at the story just like we did and translate those. Now, looking at that paragraph under Wabrissa, it says a few other verbs follow the pattern of the verb to be and we've met one here, it's adsum, A-D-S-U-M, adsum, which means I am here or I am present. When we take a simple verb like sum and add a prefix, you know what the prefix is, right? Those little letters that go at the beginning of a word. What do you call it when you put them at the end? Do you remember? Adriana? Right, suffix. Okay, so the suffix goes at the end, prefix. You put these little prefixes, which are in fact Latin prepositions. You put them at the beginning and we get a whole new verb. It's called a compound verb. And they've given you some examples there. The first one is absum, I am away. Ab meaning, which is the preposition that means away from. Adsum, I am here. Ad meaning to. Insum, I am in. Possum, I am able. Praesum, I am in charge. Subsum, I am under. And supersum, I survive. And then, before spring break, wow, it seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? Before spring break, we were doing those 10 verbs on a piece of paper. Number 1. Be a good time to pause the video and see if you remember how to translate those. They're all in the imperfect tense. And then I'm going to go through them and tell you what they mean. So number 1, ad erat, he was here. Number 2, sub eramus, sub meaning under. And then the eramus meaning we were, so we were under. Number 3, pot erant, they were able. Number 4, superamus, we were surviving. Number 5, ab eras, you were away. 6, in eram, I was in. 7, ad eratis, you were here. 8, prae erat, he was in charge. 9, ab eramus, we were away. And 10, pot erat, he was able. All right, good job. It was a good little review for today. Finishing up on chapter 9. There are 5 sentences here. I'd like for you to go through those on your own. Look at those words that are underlined and see if you can come up with the Latin root word for each of those English words. And then next week we'll be ready for chapter 10 and I'll come back to teach you a little bit about something that we've never talked about. They're called participles. They're actually verbs, a verb form that's acting like an adjective. Wow, that's a really different concept. But that's what the concept is and the new grammar lesson for chapter 10, and so we'll come back next time for that. And for now, I hope you made your mind work and did some mental push-ups for yourself. And I want to bid you good day. Valete discipuli. Let's all say John 1:1 as we dismiss. You ready? John 1:1. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum. Goodbye and have a good day. Miss you.